Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FamVestor podcast. I'm your host, Sonny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunray Burns.
So today we are talking privilege, and not in the way you might think, but it's going to be a good episode. It's been something that's been on my mind, on our minds, for the last couple of weeks.
Yes, it's been on our minds, even though I'm just hearing about this now.
Okay, my mind then. But in talking about privilege... recently, we've been talking about garbage a lot on this podcast and stumbling upon great garbage in our new town here. Actually, today you happened upon some good garbage happenings.
Yes, I did. I found my Christmas lawn displays for this year. Hooray!
Hooray. Anyway, weeks ago we found, those kind of ride-on automobiles for kids, those toy Power Wheel things. So we actually did end up getting new batteries for them, and they work really well. Surprised that people threw them out. But, my plan was, I didn't really want to give them to my kids. I had a really hard time thinking, I don't know, every time I used to see those growing up, I of course wanted it really badly. So maybe I was just jealous, but I just thought, what privileged rich kids driving those things around.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I always wanted the Barbie Jeep. I saw the commercials every day, every Saturday on Cartoon Network, and then,
so
there's unreachable.
Right. So there's a little bit of that I didn't really want my kids to be, I don't know, maybe just perceived as these rich kids, who are, I mean, we did get it from the garbage, but anyway. But there's also, we like human-powered things, and, this you're just relying on a battery, and it takes you around. I'd much rather see them on their bicycle, and they bicycle enough.
Building a skill and getting a workout done.
Right, and just not this, fast food, instant gratification mentality, like work for, developing your muscles, get faster, just not relying solely on this battery-powered device to get you around. Anyway, there was a lot that went into it, but I posted on this Facebook group I'm a part of that, my plan is, let the kids play with it for a day, and then I'm just going to sell it. Just so that they aren't privileged. And I got this crazy response back, like, what kind of parents are you? They just want to have fun. What lessons are you going to teach them? And, it got me to thinking, like, okay, maybe it's true. There's no real reason that we need to just sell this. We can use this as like a learning experience. The batteries need to be charged in order to be used. They need to be taken care of. They can't be just left out in the sun. And what we came to an agreement of is just they can be used once a week. And that's only if that week, was a good week. There was no X's throughout the week. And they were well behaved. Actually, the first week we had to cancel because they didn't do their morning vacuuming chore. Or they gave me a hard time. And I was like, okay, that's it.
Bad attitude, yeah.
Right, and that seemed to have corrected a lot of bad things. But anyway, they got to ride last weekend for the first time. They were very happy. Probably rode around for an hour and a half or so, just in circles on the front lawn.
Yeah.
But, and then afterwards, I was like, okay, well, if you want to use this for next week, if everything goes well, you need to charge the batteries. So I had them take out the batteries, plug them in, charge them, and then I was like, and I want you to park these over here, and here's a tarp to cover them. So I had them do all of that. So I feel like it can be a good learning experience for them. And
a little bit of responsibility that comes with it.
Right. And that's our segue into our episode talking about privilege, which we'll be talking about something else, but privilege nonetheless. So with that, without further ado, let's get to the show.
You're listening to the FamVestor podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Okay, so today we are talking about pretty much the reason for the FamVestor brand, blog, podcast, what our mission here really is. And that is to really give our kids privilege. And, it really came to my mind when I was listening to a podcast, maybe it was like 3-4 weeks ago. We were driving back from, where were we? New Hampshire?
Connecticut?
Connecticut. No, not Connecticut.
New York?
New York, yeah, Ithaca, New York. I think I talked about Ithaca, New York. That was an awesome vacation. Definitely highly recommended. Check out my YouTube channel where we, go on all these waterfalls. We found like some slip and slide waterfalls. It was a really good time. Anyway,
Place.
on our way back, I'm listening to a podcast and it's talking about this real estate investor, who kind of grew up poor. His dad's a taxi driver. His mom's like a dry cleaner lady or something like that. Anyway, he's going to college. And he's, causing trouble or whatever. And his guidance counselor takes him aside and is like, hey, why are you causing all this trouble? Do you know the amount of privilege you have? And then that set him off. Like, privilege? What do you mean privilege? My parents don't have money, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, and the guidance counselor goes to him and is like, well, look around you. Look at all your, co-students. And none of them have a mom and dad who live together in the same household. You are one of the only ones. And, that really hit him hard, like, yes, there is so much privilege that comes from, having that mom and dad and that successful marriage, thriving marriage that your kids can see and you can grow up with. I definitely felt that growing up, and I felt like so much security, so much confidence came from that. Not to say my upbringing was easy or, always sunshine, but to have that foundation to fall back on, your family being so solid, I feel like is such a privilege, and a privilege that I think each and every one of us wants to give to our kids. And I know that really has got me thinking, and that's always been the mission of our podcast, but it's always hard to explain, what FamVestor is. And I think that's really at the core of it. You listen to the very end of our intro bumper and we say, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace. And I think, both of us really believe in that message, that family, when done right, and if it can be done right in a massive scale, where, we have all these strong families, it's just going to take a generation and the world will be peaceful. I truly believe that, and I think we truly do, and I'm sure, the listeners, if you've been listening to this podcast, you see it. You see the strength in having a strong relationship between a husband and wife, and then how that just carries into your kids, carries into your whole life, and I think that's really, really what we want to do with our kids, is first and foremost, focus on each other, focus on the relationship we've already built, and just continually making it better. And how that just, naturally is a gift, is a privilege to our kids to see and to build confidence off of, knowing, that mommy loves their daddy and their daddy loves their mommy, and that's an unshakable truth that they can carry with them no matter what goes wrong in their lives. Their parents are going to be together, their parents love each other, and that they love them. And I think that's a privilege that I'm so grateful to be able to give to our kids, and that, I'm not taking for granted, but something that we work towards every day to give them. And that kind of just ties into our whole message, how we want to do that. There's so much that goes into it. You don't need money to do that, but a lot of our message is about money. And because, number one reason for divorce is money problems, money fights, spats. It's such a friction point that, we try to teach others how to get rid of that by either spending less, by creating passive income streams. We've tackled it through so many angles.
Even just trying to understand money and its basic definition and how it works, whether spending on a credit card is wise or not, how much can you spend in a day without over exceeding, what is responsible. And it's amazing how, even basic knowledge like that, not everyone has learned, So understanding the mastery of your own money is huge.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we do focus a lot on money on the podcast, but the ultimate purpose of the podcast is really to enable people, give them tools. We talk about a lot of other topics too, but really to strengthen their relationships with their spouse. And how that in turn really, and we do want to focus more on the parenting aspect too. We haven't done too much on that just because, I don't know, we're just going through it now too. We're not experts, no one is, but that will be a focus on. But like I said, I feel like as long as the marital relationship is solid, I feel like that foundation for your kids even if you screw up parenting, I don't think it'll be that detrimental. Even if your focus for your kids is so minimal, if they can see that foundation between the parents and that's solid, I really honestly feel like that is so important.
Yeah, there's a parenting book that we enjoyed reading called The 5-Point System to Raising Happy, Healthy Children. 6-point system. Whoops. Yes. By John Rosemond, I believe. And one of the 6 points he mentions is that one of the best things you can do for your kids is to love your spouse first and foremost. And I just think that, when I had first encountered that concept, it really kind of took me aback. I'm like, no, you should love your kids first and foremost, But just the understanding of actually, the reassurance, as we've been stating, that you give your children in the security of their parents' love and faithfulness to one another, can allow them to truly pursue their dreams, without having to worry about their home life. The home life's secure. Now all of a sudden they can dream big.
Right.
They can think about the future they want to make. They can feel secure in the decision of, spreading their wings and trying something that the rest of the world might, discourage them toward or something,
Right.
because they know mommy and daddy are my solid rock on whom I can always turn to for support and love and guidance. And they are a united front that they'll always be together supporting me no matter what I do.
Right. And if you have that support, if you know you have that, unconditional love from your parents, like you said, you can really weather any storms, weather any criticisms, because like in your family, you are accepted, you are loved, you are whole. Mm-hmm. And so it really doesn't matter, and I was talking a little bit about my childhood, and I feel like, when I was younger, I was bullied a whole bunch, but I felt like it didn't, affect me as it would had I not had such a solid family foundation to lean on. And I just see that time and time again. You see these broken down families, and you see just all these issues that it causes. And that's why we feel so strongly in that last, message, that if we can get this family thing right, that it'll just change the world. And that's why I feel like our mission here at podcast is really changing the world. Yeah, as presumptuous it is to say something like that, I really think it's true. This simple idea, and yeah, simple idea, but hard in execution. It's a daily habit. It's a daily practice that you have to fine tune. Marriages don't just work. It's not happily ever after you get married. There's a lot of work and commitment and things you got to work through and develop to make it work.
It's interesting how pretty much everything else in life, you have to take years and years of academic study beforehand and hands-on experience, leading up to, in order to get certified and qualified enough to pursue that endeavor. And yet with marriage, you can just kind of jump right in, and then
you're done. Yay.
Never work on it another day in your life if you choose not to.
Right. There's no continuing education credits requirements for marriage, which there should be, in all honesty.
Or at least, it shouldn't be something ever imposed on anybody, but at least the mindfulness that, this is something I should continually work toward and work on in my life, because the more I work on it, the better it'll become. And we definitely are advocates for that, to take marriage courses, relationship classes, and all sorts of readings, books on relationships and things, just to really help ourselves grow every day and not take lightly the fact that, we've given our lives to one another, and we want to make sure it's the best life we can build together for ourselves and for our children.
Right.
And I think, we're talking about, the beauty and security that our children experience through seeing unified parents. But I think it stretches so much further beyond childhood. When you reach adulthood, your perceptions of hope for a happy love life and marriage and future, for your own future and the family you hope to one day make. If you haven't been able to see a good, solid example of it, it's very hard to think you can attain it. Just like anything else is hard, the idea of going into real estate is hard. if you've never known anyone who did it,
Right.
or anything else for that matter, it's hard to visualize if you don't see it around you, that there aren't the example couples that you can look up to or model after or kind of take a few notes from. So we feel like, if we can give even just the slightest hope, and advice through however we're living our lives to hopefully create that spark of inspiration,
Right.
That's definitely what we're all about doing.
Right. I feel like because my parents, were so successful in their marriage, I feel like, I never saw them fight. They were very harmonious. That gave me, just a very positive outlook on marriage that just made me, feel confident that I could be good for someone, good for my future wife, and to make her happy and to live a successful, thriving life. And I really want to give that to my kids, give them the confidence that they can have a successful marriage with someone and create something beautiful, create a wonderful family in the future without, seeing, within your family, divorce and questioning and, all the insecurities that might start.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, focusing on that relationship is just so important.
And I mean, it's not to say that we had perfect upbringings, right? Your family had certainly a lot of trials and tribulations and struggles to go through, as every family does. Mm-hmm. My family as well, and my parents, they definitely had their good days and their bad days and their ups and downs, as is perfectly natural in a relationship. But I always knew, like, whether it was thunderstorming that day in their relationship or if it was a sunny day in their relationship, they were committed to one another. And so it was okay. I knew they were going to work it out one way or the other because they took this promise they made to each other very seriously. So in the vein of this train of thought, I wanted to expand a little bit regarding children. And we've been reading a book actually recently called Raising Lions by Joe Newman. And I was really struck by the book and how, one of his main points is that the best way you can love your children is to set very clear boundaries and to use the word no, and to say no to them. And by saying no to your children does not mean you don't love them. It means you do love them. And he goes into many reasonings as to why children enjoy having a boundary set. It kind of helps them understand the world better and their place in the world, and how, okay, some things I have control over making decisions, others I don't, and that's okay. I don't need to control everything all the time. It can be up to my elders to make some decisions, and it kind of takes weight and responsibility off their shoulders.
Right, they can trust their parents to guide them appropriately.
Right. And so I was really struck by that concept in that book, and it got me thinking about my own childhood. And, growing up, we never had that much. We really didn't. We had enough to get by, but we had everything we needed, and we had a wonderful, loving home. And that being said, I feel like I have so many memories going to the stores and wanting something and pleading and begging and asking and please, 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 can I have it to my mom? And she would say no. And boy, did she hold her ground, because I know how hard it is as a parent now when we're in the store, even if it's, dollar store or whatever, we're in the store and my boys just go at me, oh, can I have this, can I have this, can I have this? And it's really hard to hold your ground and say no sometimes. But my mom would say no, not necessarily because she didn't want to, but because she couldn't say yes. She didn't have the freedom to do that because of, things were tight. And I feel like it was a privilege to experience that tightness, that, financial responsibility there. And it taught me that there are two things in life. There are needs and there are wants. And my family will always take care of my needs. My family cannot always take care of my wants. And that's okay. I don't need all my wants. I don't need that to make a happy life. I just need what I need. And then the things that I want, I can work hard towards achieving. The idea of hard work to earn something. If it's something you truly want, you'll work at it. And if it's not, then you didn't need it in the first place, and just kind of that idea of like waiting and working and delaying your gratification so that when you do eventually get it, it means so much more to you. It's not something that you toss aside a day later because you just don't understand the value of it. So that was something I came to my mind too about privilege and just like, truly understanding what you truly need in life and what you just want, and, kind of keeping that in check and balance to truly feel gratitude for everything that comes into your life, whether it be relationships or whether it be things that you own or buy or, whatever it might be.
Right. And I think that's why we've kind of set up systems because, now, we are doing pretty well for ourselves. But again, we don't want to spoil our children. We want them to be financial. Or ourselves. So we set ourselves a budget, and the kids also kind of have their own system of gaining money, whether it be doing like extracurricular activities, like lemonade stands and things of that nature, rolling quarters for our laundry business. We've enacted in order to further educate them, and I think we talk about this in past episodes. Actually, today is the end of the month, end of August, so every end of the month we give them 10% interest on whatever they have accrued in their savings accounts. And through birthdays and all that, like our eldest has like $600, so he gets $6 at the end of every month, and plus whatever he has in the savings jar and in his bank account. So I think he got like $6 and like 75 cents today, something like that. And he has 4 jars that he can place this money in, and we give him complete freedom to put it whatever. And we pay him out in quarters, actually. So he has, 6 times 4, 24 quarters. And he can put them into a spending jar, a saving jar, a giving jar, and a family contribution jar. And I think today he decided just 1 quarter for the family contribution jar and 1 quarter for the giving jar, and the rest into saving and spending. But there's been other months where he's put a lot more in there. But I think it'll be a good lesson where he learns financial responsibility, learns the art of giving and contributing to the family, and just allowing him to make those choices and make those and yeah. So
having that awareness that there is other things you need to take care of in life. You know, giving and helping the family and saving for the future.
Right. Yeah, so, throughout this podcast, if you've been a loyal listener, we share tons of, like we're talking about marriage today. Episode 9 gives our top 3 marriage tips, which I highly recommend, always being grateful for each other, not taking each other for granted, being on the same team, and always doing, what the higher-minded one of you in the couple wants to do. Those are like top 3 tips. We go into a lot more details in that episode. But there's so much like golden nuggets that we've learned throughout our lives together that we want to share with the world and that we're continually experiencing. So maybe this money tip for your kids is one of those tips, of how to make them financially responsible if you are, if you have been blessed to have, financial success but don't want to spoil them. Now the kids, spend from their spend jar. And it's like if they come to us saying, hey, I really want that. Well, use your spend jar to buy it. You can do that. And we don't have to be the bad guys or the ones to be like, no. It's their responsibility. If they want to buy it, they can buy it. They have a way to earn money. They have their interest coming into. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope that's kind of been illuminating the reason we've been putting these episodes out, our mission, how we want to impact the world and ultimately change the world for the better.
We're on this lifelong course of trying to learn how to be better, better people, better at being a husband and a wife, better parents, better with our financial responsibilities, better with environmental stewardship, everything that, we feel is important in life, to just really find the best path to be the best we can be, and then whatever we learn along the way, passing on to everyone we know in the hopes of helping to inspire them to grow and live their best lives as well.
Right. So, if you gain any value from this podcast, I haven't plugged our reviews on iTunes in a while, so hop on to iTunes, FamVestor Podcast, and give us a 5-star review. That'd be awesome. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Have a great week, guys. Godspeed.